$250,000, $500,000 a year, and we're spending every bit of it. And then when the market crashed in 1987 and a lot of people got out of the business, they had nothing to show for all the time they spent or the money they made. They just frittered it away. They just thought the good times would last forever. And it doesn't always work out that way. So anyway, I worked in the brokerage business for the longest time. I was in a fortunate situation in that I had tens of millions of dollars in assets under management, hundreds and hundreds of clients, and the business was the best it had ever been. But after 16 years, after 16 years, I was bored with it. It was like the timeshare all over again. I enjoyed the intellectual part. I loved watching the markets and analyzing securities and so forth, but I was tired of having the same conversations with clients day after day. You know, your clients call in, what do you think this market's going to do? What should you be doing? Blah, blah, blah. It's the same conversation. I really got tired of it. So I had a friend of mine who wrote an investment newsletter who called me up and he said, look, I've decided I'm going to get out of the publishing business and go run a hedge fund. And I just want to let you know, he'd been recommending me at my firm from time to time. And I said, really? I said, well, if you're thinking about doing that, I think I'd like your job. He goes, no, you don't want my job. I don't make a fraction of what you make. And I said, well, I might want your job anyway. And the reason was that I just felt like I needed to repot myself. I'd done the same thing for 16 years, and I just felt like I needed some kind of a new challenge. Now, this may or may not surprise you, but to all my friends, and the people, especially people I worked with, it was utter insanity to think about walking away from a situation. I mean, what my friends kept telling me is everybody wants to be in your position when they've been in the business so long that they have so many clients and so many assets under management and so much in management fees and other revenue coming in. It's like being an insurance agent for 20 years and then walking away from all those renewals. Why would you do that? And I said, because I'm just bored with it. And that seemed like the worst explanation to everybody, and I was getting ready to take a 75% pay cut. But just like the last time, sometimes you have to take a step back in order to take a couple of steps forward. And so I did make the transition. I kept thinking to myself, well, I'm going to really hate myself for doing this. But you know what? It was just the opposite. Because for one thing, for 16 years, I had been handcuffed to my quote machine and my telephone all day, every day. I was really looking forward to doing something else. And when I became a writer, all of my experience I could draw on. I actually had written the research reports and the marketing and the newsletters for the firm I'd been with for over a decade. And it was great to be able to do something totally different, and all kinds of doors opened up that I would never have realized before. It turned out that the publishing company I went to work for was highly entrepreneurial, where they let their employees create their own products and they give them a substantial percentage of the profits. And I'll never forget, one of the first things I did is they asked me to write a piece of advertising copy. Now, most of you probably don't know this, but advertising copy is the highest paying writing job in the country. I mean, you can't make anything like, unless you're one of the people, Sidney Sheldon or somebody selling best-selling novels, you're not going to make what a copywriter was. I wrote one 8-page letter, and a few months later I got my bonus check for $125,000 for an 8-page letter. And it kept, because they kept selling it, it kept creating more and more royalties down the road. Well, that worked out so well that I created all these trading services, one based on insider buying and one based on momentum stocks, one about how to turn your brokerage account into a hedge fund, one based on China, one based on short selling stocks that are overvalued and likely to drop, one based on international markets, one based on high dividend paying stocks, one based on takeovers, one based on hot IPOs. I just kept creating them and creating them. And all these products kept creating more and more profits, and I kept collecting them. In fact, I wasn't even writing the services anymore. I was hiring editors who would write them, and I still got the net profits on them. So again, it was a matter of taking a step back in order to take 2 steps forward. And as a result, I'm now making a lot more money than I ever made in the money management business, and I'm doing something I enjoy. And every day when I get up, I can write whatever I want from wherever I want. And as long as I meet my deadlines, I can do whatever I want. So again, I've got total freedom to do what I want to do. And again, I think the commonalities between all these different things, when I worked as a waiter, I went to the most expensive restaurant and I got paid based on my service. There was no salary. When I worked as a timeshare salesman, I had no salary. I got 100% commissions. I went to a brokerage firm. Again, it was risk-taking in the sense that there's no salary. It's you're 100% commission. I went into the the publishing business, and yes, they gave me a small salary, but it was a quarter of what I was making, but then I had a chance to earn all kinds of royalties and copywriting fees and so forth. And so, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of things that you can do as an entrepreneur yourself, and in no case did I take the risk of starting my own business, hiring my own people, investing a lot of capital, borrowing a lot of money, investing in a lot of equipment. It wasn't necessary, but I still thought in each case like an entrepreneur. Basically, no matter what I was doing, it was really me. I was the business. When I was on straight commission and selling timeshares, or straight commission and running my clients' accounts, or creating products that I get royalties on, in each case, I wasn't necessarily looking out for the best interest of the publishing company, although they certainly benefited a great deal as well. I benefited from the fact that I was thinking like an entrepreneur. And the one bad thing about my way of doing business is that I have no write-offs. I had a friend who's a former auditor with the IRS, and I was telling him, I said, you know, the top tax rate, I just send in, the top tax rate's 35%, I just send in 35% of everything I make. He goes, oh, you're missing a lot of deductions. I said, no, I don't think I'm missing anything. He goes, come into my office. He goes, all right, how many employees you got? I said, none. He goes, what do you pay an office rent? I said, nothing. I've got an office in my home. What kind of vehicles you got? Nothing. How about your trips? They're paid for by the publishing company. I mean, we went through this whole list. He goes, you're screwed, you know, because I don't have any expenses. But it's again, it's possible. You can set yourself up in such a way that you can find an entrepreneurial position with an existing firm. But in each case, you have to be thinking in terms of what you do as a goal setter and as a person who's trying to achieve certain objectives. So now I wanted to mention to you something that I wrote recently. Two things I wanted to mention to you. A lot of the stuff that I write, if you're interested in reading it, is free on the internet. One is, as I write something, I'm the chairman of Investment U. Investment U is an educational program for teaching people all the fundamentals of investing. And our byline is what no books, no schools, no brokers will teach you. And you can go on investmentu.com, just investmentu.com, and sign up. We'll send you twice a week or 3 times a week the Investment U column talking about different opportunities in stocks, bonds, currencies, mutual funds, and so on, and you're free to take a look at that. People say, well, why is it free? And it's free because we'll from time to time send you solicitations to subscribe to some investment letter or another, which you're free to ignore if you'd like, but they'll send them to you from time to time. And then the other thing that I write that I'm getting a great deal of satisfaction of doing is I just started another e-letter that's also free. It's called Spiritual Wealth. And it's about, people say, like, well, what do you mean by spiritual wealth? I say, well, there's 2 kinds of riches in life. There's material wealth, which anything that you have or that you own that can be measured in dollars and cents, I call material wealth. And everything else, the love of your families, the raising your kids, you're exercising your talents, contributing to your community, everything else I call spiritual wealth. And we started that a week ago, and we already have over 15,000 readers, and I've gotten more positive feedback on that than anything we've ever done. So if you go to spiritualwealth.com, you can also sign up for that, and we'll clog your email box further with that. So anyway, I wanted to open it up to questions, but I wanted to just point out a few things that I thought might be of interest to you. The first thing is, how many people in this room have read a book called The Millionaire Next Door? Anybody? Okay. This really should be, you shouldn't be able to get through the 10th grade without reading this book. It's so good because it amazed me when I read this book. I actually kind of read it late in life when I had actually already achieved a lot of what they were talking about. But what the whole point of the book is that most millionaires are not people who struck it rich, who bought the right lottery ticket, or who played center for the Denver Nuggets. Most people who are millionaires are people who came from rather modest background, but they followed principles, just as the principles of entrepreneurship and investment principles. So I wanted to say that here's what Thomas T. Stanley says about The Millionaire Next Door. He says, affluent people typically follow a lifestyle conducive to accumulating money. In the course of our investigations, we discovered 7 common denominators among those who build wealth successfully. Number 1, they live well below their means. Number 2, they allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth. Number 3, they believe that financial independence is more important than displaying high social status. Number 4, their parents did not provide economic outpatient care. Number 5, their adult children are